Right, so welcome again, everyone, to the webinar. We're excited to be here with Dr. Justin Alio, and we're going to be talking about designing a student-centered, future-focused EdTech mindset. And the program today is brought to you by EdWeb and NetRef. And thanks again for joining us. And before we get started, I want to thank all of you for the extraordinary work that you're doing to support students, as you always do when they're in school, but now that they're out of school. I know so many of you are continuing to teach remotely, and that in addition to that teaching, you're just really providing invaluable support and continuity to all of our students and to their families as well. So just a big shout out to all of the very hardworking educators out there. And speaking of EdWeb, the slides and the recording will be available to you on the EdWeb website. We encourage you to join the Digital World community. That's where the recording and the slideshow will be housed. So we encourage you to join that community. All right, I think that is all of our housekeeping items. So we're going to switch gears and formally meet Dr. Justin Alio, who has been waiting so patiently here on camera for us to get started. So Justin's joining us from the Montour School District in Pennsylvania, where he's Director of Academic Achievement and District Innovation. Throughout his career in education, he's been a classroom teacher and an award-winning principal. In addition to his work at Montour, Justin is a visiting LearnLab Fellow at Carnegie Mellon University's Human-Computer Interaction Institute in the School of Computer Science, a Getting Smart columnist, an adjunct STEM professor at California University of Pennsylvania, a future-ready schools thought leader, and a frequent speaker at conferences and contributors to publications. And I do want to give a big shout out to some of Justin's students, grad students, who are joining us today on EdWeb to learn from him as they usually do in their class. So we're happy to have you with us. So Justin and his colleagues at Montour have been working hard, like so many of you, for the past several weeks to transition to distance learning. So we are really grateful and honored that he's taken the time out of his very busy schedule to join us today and to share what he's been doing in his district. So you ready to get started, Justin?
Absolutely. Okay, so first of all, welcome everyone to Designing a Student-Centered, Future-Focused EdTech Mindset. Again, my name is Justin Alio, and before I start, I just want to give a huge thank you to everyone. What things you have done in the past, but really things you're doing right now in the current present tense, and also coming up here in the future for education. We're going in uncharted territory, and I want to thank you as a former teacher, former principal, district administrator, father of 3 kids that are all school age. I married a teacher. My mother's a teacher. Teaching's in my blood. And I know what teachers are going through right now. So, and administrators and all educators. So thank you from the bottom of my heart of what you're doing. Thank you for being here today and continuing to learn to do what's best for kids. I love to connect with you. There's a chance to connect with me on Twitter and social media at Justin Alio, and also visit my website, justinalio.com. My email address is on there if you want to get in touch with me. But today, we actually scheduled this webinar a few months ago, and I know it says Future Focused EdTech, and Future Focused EdTech 3 or 4 months ago, it looks totally different than Future Focused EdTech right now. So we do realize that, and we actually made this custom webinar for you in the present of EdTech and hopefully moving into the future. But throughout this presentation, you are going to continue to hear the words student-centered throughout this presentation, because that's what we're all about. We're all about putting students at the center. So everything we're talking about is going to relate directly back to the students, because you can never go wrong when we talk about putting students at the center of everything that we do. And when it comes to working with students, relationships are so important. I love this image by Sylvia Duckworth, one of my favorite educators of all time, Rita Pearson. Absolutely amazing. Says that it's relationships, it's about the human connection is the key. And teaching and learning should bring joy. Every child deserves an adult who will never, ever give up on them. And this job is tough, but we can do it. We are educators, and we are born to make a difference. And so when you're thinking about this, I want you to think about, I am ready for this. I am willing and I am able to make a difference from this every step of the way. And I'm from Pittsburgh, folks. And in Pittsburgh, Mr. Rogers, he's key. And he's king in Pittsburgh. He's everywhere. And if you've seen the new Mr. Rogers movie, you know what I'm talking about. If you grew up with Mr. Rogers, you know who he is. But did you know in the first episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, February 19th, 1968, it's called The First Program, it actually talked about dealing change. And I know change right now is scary to a lot of people, and it should be scary to some people because we don't know that it's very uncertain what we're going through right now. But in the very first episode, King Friday was totally against change. He did not want anything to change in the land of make believe. In fact, when Charlie came back from the land of make believe, he told Mr. Rogers that King Friday does not like change and he's against it. Well, Mr. Rogers told said that he knew someone that changed his bed from this side of the room to that side of the room. And they woke up the next day. They said, you know what? I've got a new change is good. So here's Mr. Rogers 52 years ago telling us today that change is good. And change brings new ideas. And new ideas are amazing because we have millions and millions of kids sitting across this country today and billions of kids around the world that have this sense of fearlessness and optimism to change the world. But we also have thousands of educators in this country and millions of educators around the world that want to make a difference for kids and do their best. But educators, don't let these obstacles stand in your way. Randy Pelsch, the great professor at Carnegie Mellon University and author of the last lecture, said, the brick walls aren't there to keep us out. The brick walls are there to give us a chance to show how badly we want something. So think about it. As when we go through this time right now, these couple weeks, these couple months, and we get back into a school, whether it's higher education or public education, I guarantee you that we will all be better educators from this. And our students will be more creative and more resourceful than ever before. So even though this may seem like a time where it's down in education, don't think like that. Think of like it's a time that we're going to come back to school and we're all going to be better because we're growing every day and learning something new every day along this way. As we get into the agenda today, I want to talk a little bit about what's happening when it comes to designing a student-centered, future-focused EdTech mindset. What does this mean? And how do we prepare? And I capitalize the word we because this is a team effort with everyone involved. You should not feel isolated in this process. You should be reaching out to people and asking for help because everyone wants help in the situation. So let's figure out first what's happening right now when it comes to a student-centered, future-focused EdTech mindset. Well, if you're living underneath a rock lately, and I saw one of the famous actors, I think Jared Leto, he tweeted out that after 12 days of the corona crisis, he was doing a retreat into the desert and came back and was like, oh my goodness, what's happening around the world? But as you know, as of March 29th, Education Week, they have a wonderful resource here that's very up to date about school closures in America. And over 124,000 schools, public and private, right now have been impacted this, and over 55 million students. And they also have a map, an interactive map that you can click on. And here's the dark Virginia, the dark colors. Schools have been shut down for the year. The gray colors, as of yesterday, Pennsylvania joined that color as well, have been shut down until further notice. So it's definitely impacting every student across this country somehow in some way. I encourage you to check out that Education Week website. It's a great website to see what's up to date in school closures. In school districts across the country, they're figuring out, hey, what's going on here? If we don't know what's going on, school districts that may have school closures because of snow delays a lot and disasters in some areas, they may have a little bit of planning for this, but we're all still kind of trying to figure out what's happening right now. What's the new reality in the coronavirus? What's happening now in education and educational technology? This is a really kind of unforeseen time that we've never really experienced within our lifetime. So even though it's scary, if we work together, we'll be okay with this. And there's tons of free resources out there, almost too many right now. So I know a lot of you have free resources. I see on Twitter all the time, which one's good, which one's bad. I have a document of 70 resources, 70 pages of resources that are free and available right now. And it's really what works for you and what works well for your school district. And here are a few of some of my favorite ones. Common sense education when it comes to digital citizenship. PBS Kids are doing a lot of really creative things around television right now, and I get their daily newsletter every day. Scholastic has a lot of nice resources. XQ America, Rethinking Education, has a lot of nice readings and blogs for resources. Google for education, we're a Google school. We use a lot of their products and so forth. Great resource, but we'll talk about resources later on through this presentation as well. But I want to tell you that this right here is your best resource. People, us together. Innovation starts and ends with people, period. That is the number one resource that we can have for each other at this time, because you have the ideas. The ideas are not coming from the education knowledge programs. The ideas are coming from people gathering these resources and putting them into practice right now. And I just want to say right now, you do not need a PhD to do this. You don't. You don't need an associate's degree to do this. You don't need a bachelor's degree to do this. You don't need an MBA to do this. What you need to do, make an impact in education right now, it's very simple. You need CS. And no, it's not computer science. It's common sense. If you use common sense every single day and say, okay, I need to figure out what I need to do as a teacher. Okay. I know when students come in my class in August, I can figure this out. So calm down. Let's figure this out together and we'll be okay. Because if you really put kids first and do what's best for kids, everything will work out. I promise you. I promise you that everything is going to work out and be okay. And I know that right now on this call, in this webinar, all of you right now are worthy to do something. Absolutely 100%. But I'm going to ask the question, who's willing to get up and do it? Who's willing to go out and take the risk and say, you know what? I'm going to make this video and send it to my team because my team needs this right now. I'm willing to step ahead. A lot of the leaders are going to emerge from this process of what's happening right now in educational technology. A lot of people are going to become superstars, not for themselves, for kids. So think about that along the way. Think about who's willing and able to help, because we're all worthy to help. So let's stand up and let's help each other a little bit more. I love this quote by Dr. Herb Simon, Nobel Peace Prize winner. This is probably my favorite quote of all time. It's the fact that we can't predict the future. We absolutely cannot predict the future. We can't predict what's going to happen. We can only control what we can control. And we need to do this for our younger ones, and they need to be part of it. And our task is not to predict the future. It's to design the future. So think about this as we move forward, as far as what can we do as educators right now to take control of what we want to take control of. Because we have an opportunity right now, just like you do in your classroom or in your school, to create this culture that you want, to design a new culture that you want for online learning, for out of school time. So think about that as we move forward through this process, and what can you do? And the first thing you could do is revisit your mission, your vision, and values of your organization, because this right here should control everything you do. So if you're stuck right now within an organization, or you're stuck personally with what to do, go back. What's your mission? What's your vision? What are your values? And in this process, it may make you go back and have to retweak some of this language in this process, and that's okay. These mission, values, and visions are supposed to be retweaked every now and then to meet the needs of learners. So go back. This is a good place to start. What's your mission? What's your vision? What's your values? At Montour School District, we're located right outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in Allegheny County. We're designing a positive future for Montour schools, aligning every action and decision within our districts to our three core values: curriculum, educational technology, professional development. The first one is putting children first. I know it sounds like cliche, gotta put children first. But when you take a symbolic figure and put it in the middle of the table and say, we're going to start this meeting, what's best for those children? What's best for this child within our school district? not for the adults, for the child. That's number one. Number two, you have to have a growth mindset. School districts and educators that practice a growth mindset every day up until this point of March when schools started closing down. Those are the districts, those are the educators who practice this growth mindset practice. They're the ones right now continuing to adapt and adopt these practices and moving forward. The fixed mindset, got to get rid of it. It's now or never in education. Got to open up that growth mindset. And last but not least, creating this learning culture. Everyone has to learn from each other. Our superintendent does a great job modeling this at our school district where he learns from everyone. Our teachers learn from people. Every across the board, we're open-minded and learning from each other. When we make a decision within the school district, we don't make one person does not make a decision. Whether it's curriculum, technology, or anything, we involve teacher leaders, we involve stakeholders to the table, and we make these decisions together as we. The second part of the agenda is, okay, what does this mean? Okay, we know what's happening right now. But what does this really mean? This the student-centered, future-focused EdTech mindset. So in education, we have this adapt and adopt model. If you think back a year ago, 5 months ago, right, we're getting ready to adopt a new math curriculum for the Montour School District. So we went through this process. We selected. We got a committee together. We talked to people. We looked at. We piloted and beta tested different models. And then we wanted to adopt something to our standards. Well, in education right now, this means we're no longer adopting, we're adapting. We've now adapted to this new situation. So the adopting is not coming really to practice anymore. We're adapting to what's happening right now. And that's what school districts are trying to figure out across the country again. How do you do this? Is it e-learning? Is it ed tech? Is it virtual? So let's talk about ed tech for a minute. And I want you to think about this as in the concept of this ship right here. This is the USS ed tech ship, right? This ship right here is everything to do with educational technology. And on this ship, we have another ship joining us. We have the USS culture ship. Now the ed tech and culture ship have to line up together as we move forward thinking about this. And with culture, as you know, if we wanted to go on this epic journey across the season set to sales, culture is a nonstop journey that never ends. It's think about it in a school, in a classroom. At Montour Elementary School, we have two great principals. And every day they try to focus on what's the one thing I could do today to focus on the culture of this building. Because it's a nonstop journey. It's not a one thing and it's done. It has to be practiced every single day as we go along. And in culture, hey, it's good waves, right? When we're smoothing high and you're a rock star in a wave and you're cruising, things are great. Things are amazing. But with great schools and great leaders who understand culture, they know that every day is not going to be a rock show on a high wave. They know and anticipate that the wave's going to crash. And they're ready for that because the culture allows them to get back up on that wave and continue to be rock stars again. But they have to also understand again and again, it's going to crash. It's going to go back up. It's going to crash. It's going to go back up along the way. So as we're going on this journey of EdTech and culture, the culture needs to go simultaneously along with the EdTech side by side. At Montour School District, we have this time where we meet together as a team pretty frequently. Every single week in PLCs, teachers get together and look at common assessments and common instruction, and they have common planning time every day they meet. I have an opportunity to meet together, and we have these data meetings pretty frequent where we come together, we schedule a time, we sit down around the table, and we stop and reflect. And these are long meetings. And we have food. It's really a great time to come in and check and see what's going on. We involve all the key stakeholders. We develop team action plans along the way. Because if you don't have action plans, you don't have measurables, you're just meeting to meet. So we meet, we go back in the first meeting we have, and we come back, We look at that action plan that we made, and we go through that and say, okay, we said we're going to do this a month ago. What did we do from this? How can we go through this and see what we need to learn from it, change, or adapt to it? And we have to establish clear goals and expectations along those ways, common language and assessments. And you also have to always reassess and react to what's going on. And you have to regroup. And it has to be it's a constant flow. It cannot be once a year or after the state assessment comes out. This is constantly you're checking, you're communicating with each other when working with communication when it comes to culture and educational technology. Because of educational technology, as you know, we have these dashboard systems that can predict how students work and do, and we can see how we can help students together better. Now, this is what we look at our meetings look like now. They're Zoom calls, they're Google Meets, they're all online. I have 3 meetings with our grade level teams tomorrow. Same thing. Still go direct. Still going to teams. We're still going to look at our action plan. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed from being in person to online because that culture was established and those ed tech tools were established and developed with selected by team members along the way to help with this. And when we involve people, you need teacher input. I believe that teacher input equals student output. When it comes to educational technology, teachers have to say this works or this doesn't work. Administrators have to listen. People ask me all the time, Justin, what's innovation? How can we get an innovative culture within our schools? I said it's very simple. Listen and support. If you listen and support each other, you will create a culture of innovation within your school district. But teachers have to give input in every single step along the way. And this means right now in this virtual world that we live in. Now, we're a Title I school at Montour Elementary School, and these are our numbers over the last 3 years. And I know a lot of people come on sometime webinars and keynotes and so forth, and they talk. But these numbers back up what we're doing. When you have a good culture, when you have your educational technology tools are selected to meet your core values of what you do, and they align with what you do in curriculum, these are the results that you get. Now, going back to our EdTech culture ships, if the EdTech ship goes too far ahead of the culture ship and it continues to go along the way and the culture is ignored, I hear often sometimes by administrators or educators that we're going to give these teachers or this principal or somebody, whoever, we're going to give them the tools and resources. They're going to be professional. They're going to do their job. They get paid money. They have to do their job. That's great. They should. But we still have to pay attention to the culture along the way and make sure professional development's there. Make sure they're supported. Make sure people are encouraged to take risk along the way. Just like now, as we're making decisions, what's happening in this virtual online world, we have to take risk right now. We have to take risks that support students. We have to take risks that support families along the way. Because if the culture does not align up to the ed tech and ed tech gets way too far behind, what happens is the culture ship will sink every single time. And you're left with a mess. Same thing with culture and ed tech. If the culture ship takes off and everything's fun, everybody's having a good time, but no one's really paying attention to the ed tech, then what happens to ed tech's the same thing as the culture. It's going to sink every single time. Now, I know a lot of people say, wow, we cannot get everyone on the same ship. We cannot get everyone moving in the same direction. Okay. My answer to that's very simple sometimes. Okay. The people that say those things, I know this is harder than it is to say, but make an effort. Put people on the front lines. Bring people, involve people in. Think about if people are members of your own family and they're off on their own. What can you do to bring them in? Think about a student in your class that doesn't want to go along with what you're doing today's assignment. How can you bring them in? It's the same thing. We're in a human business. People have to be along for the ride. We have to figure out how to get them to the table over and over again. So if we have this ed tech and culture ship and they go simultaneously, and it's not just ed tech. It's curriculum, it's scheduling, it's everything we do. The culture shift always has to be along the way. And we have to, and at the end, we're going to have nothing but success along the way. I promise you that, if those two ships align together. So you cannot think about the one without the other. So let's go to, how do we prepare? Justin, you're saying, okay, we see what's happening right now. We know, we watch the news every day. Okay, we know what this means. You're talking fantasy world right now, right? Talking this thing where, we have this culture and it has to get along okay in this ed tech world that we live in right now. Okay, but how do we prepare? What are the meat potatoes of what we do every single day? So as we move forward, I want you to take a step back. Go back to August, our first days of school. And I want you to think about what you focused on in August: expectations, relationships, culture, getting your curriculum lined up, working on your scope and sequence. Okay, that's August. And I know I see a lot of you doing this in your school breaks. You want to learn. Well, new August is March. We're back to school in March. Before you jump in and say, okay, we need to set up this Google Classroom and push this page out, go back and think, okay, let's look at our mission, vision, and values. Let's look at the expectations I want from my class. Let's look at my relationships I want to build. What kind of culture do I want to have in my class? And then let's go out and try to figure out how I can work with my team in order to get those tools and those resources available to support my students within my class. Think about those things first before you go out and just start picking things and doing things right away. And I know it's going to help you a lot more down the road, because there's things out of our control, but we can control are those things, the relationships and culture. And I want you to also think about this. This is very important. This is the one thing that we're trying to do over and over again within Montour School District to really help build those relationships. We're crafting within our grades 3 through 12. They're using Google Classroom. K1, 2, we're using Google Sites. We said these are your home rooms. So if you're Miss Smith in kindergarten, your Google Site page is your new home room. So in the first day of school, when the students come back in August, okay, and you spend 2 weeks getting your room ready, think that your home room right now is your Google Site page, because that's what parents are going to see every day. That's what kids are going to see every day when they log in. Make it warm, make it exciting, make it fresh, make it new. How can you connect with your students that way first before jumping in on the other stuff? So to help kind of figure this out, I crafted these 5 tips to design a student-centered, future-focused EdTech mindset. And throughout this process, the one thing I'm going to go back to again, it's got to have students in the middle. Everything going around these 5 tips have to have students in the middle of what we do. First thing is ensure equity. This is really hard to do when it comes to the world we live in right now, whether it's special education, ESL students, ELL students, whether it's social economic status, whether you have students that are schools that are one-to-one, schools that are not one-to-one, technology. Equity right now is huge. And school districts also who establish promising practices around digital citizenship, collaborating online already in schools, and then they're giving students tech now. They're able to fly with it. Schools that are providing tech somehow through grants or some loaner programs or something like that, they have to start back with the collaboration piece. So the equity piece right now is really, really hard, but I want you to think outside the box. We're educators. We're amazing people. Teachers are amazing. They think outside the box every day in your classroom. I know that sending a letter to your students, you have their addresses. Send a letter, put a stamp on it, talk to them that way. Use television. PBS is coming out with some amazing stuff in Khan Academy right now for students that are 2 to 7 years old to do some things on TV. PBS is trying to do some things. Use television. Almost every house has a television inside their house. How can we use some of those things? And along the way, you have these digital platforms, these remote learnings, digital learning, menus, online, asynchronous, whatever you're doing right now, whatever it's being called right now, I just want you to focus on the fact that in the video conference, to focus on the fact, use common sense, right? Use common sense. Go back to that common sense thing. Go back to doing what's best for kids. You do it every day in your classrooms, and it's going to look different. Set up a Google Voice. It's free. Have a fake phone number. Have your students call that phone number. Every house, 99.99999% of houses have a phone. Set up a fake phone number and have students call that number back and forth, and you call that back and forth and send a massive video call out to your students. Think outside the box a little bit. And I want you to have the mindset of this. Don't say, but. Say, yes, and. Don't say, but I don't have this, but we can't do this. Say, yes, we can do this, and we'll do this. Start coming up with those mindsets. You got to think outside the box for more than ever. It's not about, it's about moving. And going back to the wall before, if you're stuck on the wall and you see this brick wall, remember, you are an educator, you are a teacher, you are an administrator, and knock down that wall. Knock it down. I believe in you. Your kids believe in you. Everyone believes in you. Knock down that wall. You can do it. So what's your game plan? So let's have a clear game plan. This is so important to have a clear game plan for a district and teachers at this point. The game plan has to be clear, but it also has to support the community. A lot of people right now are losing jobs. A lot of families are stuck within their house. That causes tension in the families. There's going to be a lot of family issues that are going to be popping up. So I encourage you to know your community, know your families, and how do you want to support your family? In our school district, we're looking at this as how can we elevate your family and support your family rather than putting pressure on your family to learn. And if your kids don't do the work, they're not going to pass, because that's going to elevate more tension within the families. So what's your plan? How are you sharing that plan? And how are you being more clear and precise about that plan? Are you posting it on a site? At Montour School District, we have a major site. But underneath elementary school, we created our own Google site, and we have this COVID-19 site like a lot of school districts do. And we're posting our daily announcements on that website, where our principals are going on and they're having these morning announcements of Pledge of Allegiance, and they're making these videos. We have these homeroom sites that teachers are using as homerooms. We're having to frequently asked questions. We're constantly sending out communication, but it's consistent, it's clear. You have to have a clear message. Don Norman, the great human-centered design thinker of all time, he wrote the book, The Design of Everyday Things. I love this, what he says. He goes, a good design is actually a lot harder to notice than poor design, in part because good design fits our needs so well that the design is invisible. So think about this. Your design has to be so good and clear that nobody notices it. Nobody's patting you on the back for saying, good job. It's so clear on what you want to do. Parents accept it. They understand it. There's no confusion. We send our letter to communication out to our community. We sent it to some parents first. And we said, hey, can you read this first and see if it makes sense? Because if it doesn't make sense to you, then it's not going to make sense to anyone, because we're writing this for parents. It's okay to knock down those walls. I became an administrator at a very young age. I think I was 24 years old when I was coordinator of this summer program. When I became a building administrator at 26. When I was 24, though, I was so scared. I took this letter to one of our administrative assistants, and I said, hey, do you mind looking over this letter? I feel really stupid giving it to you to look over, but I just don't trust myself. I want to make sure that I'm communicating what I want to say to the community, if it makes sense. She looked at me and she said this. She goes, what's stupid is you not giving me this letter to check for you. If you would have sent this letter out, that would have been stupid. So it's okay to send a letter out to a couple of friends and say, hey, check this out. Check my plan out. Does it make sense to you? If it makes sense to them, send it out. Because I'm going to tell you right now, and this is true. I know that you have seen this already. Good plans are invisible. Bad plans end up on Facebook pages, on parent Facebook pages or social media. You would know instantaneously if you have a bad plan because parents are going to be posting it saying, what is this school doing right now? So make your plans invisible and to the point and allow yourself to be accessible to your families. Our next thing is focus on learning. When we say focus on learning, we mean focus on learning not just for the students. Yes, we want to be student-centered, but we have to also focus on learnings of the teachers, the administrators, the parents, communities, school board members, district office administrators. Every single person is learning from this right now. Everyone. So we have to be open-minded to the fact that it's okay. There are going to be hiccups along the way. We're going to learn together as we move forward with this. A, it builds a sense of community. B, it builds a sense of bonding. And C, it sends a voice that we're in this together and we're going to get through this together. So make sure that your focus is on learning this whole time. And it always should be on learning during this whole time. It always should be focusing on what's a good question rather than bad content. Think about Anne Frank and the diary she wrote last century. This moment right now, I have a 13, 10, and 7-year-old. This is their moment of history. This is their Anne Frank story. Every day they should be journaling what they did that day, maybe a couple sentences. Because 30, 40, 50 years from now, 5 years from now, this event that we're going through in history will be in every history book. Stories will be made about this for centuries to come. I want my own children 40, 50 years from now to read to their grandkids when they say, hey, what was your experience like during the coronavirus? And they say, well, look, I got a journal. I kept a journal, a diary. Let me read it to you. What a great learning experience. Focus on those questions. Our kids already have the content at home. In fact, a lot of these kids probably have more content at home than they do in schools. Oh, hold on. They're asking me to refresh my browser. And I'm choppy here. So I'm going to just refresh gear and chop. All right. So I'm going to refresh this. So give me a second here. Hopefully I don't lose anybody.
Yeah, we'll bear with you. Thanks,
Okay.
everybody, for your patience.
So I'm going to reload this right now, Ann.
Yeah, if you just do refresh on your browser.
Okay. Let me come up here.
And we will lose you for a second, but you should come
Okay.
right back in.
Okay.
All right. And thanks again, everybody, for your patience as we deal with bandwidth issues. I'm sure all of you are experiencing one degree of those or others. And thanks for the great chat that's going on. You are all sharing wonderful resources and ideas and support. And that is really heartening to see.
Am I back?
We hear you. So hit your webcam button and then we should see you again.
Awesome.
Yep,
There
you're
I am.
back.
All right, cool. Is this better?
Right now, I think we're good. Yeah.
All right, cool. So yeah, so like I said, this is a history moment right here. So take advantage of that. And I'll just share with you a quick story about my oldest son. He's 13, and I was putting him to bed one night, and I said, "Hey, Lewis, there's things in life you need to learn, right? You need to learn who like the 16th president of the United States." And he said, "Dad, I don't need to learn this stuff." He goes, "I could just ask Google for any of these things." And I said, no, you need to learn things. He goes, Dad, let me ask you a question. When was Google invented? I said, I don't know. He goes, okay, Google. When was Google invented? And it said 1998. And I said, oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that. And he goes, okay, son, but there's things you need to learn in life, like how to change your bike tire and things like that. He goes, Dad, I don't need to learn that stuff. I said, yes, you do. He goes, No, Dad, YouTube will teach me. And I said, son, YouTube wasn't around forever. He goes, okay, Google, when was YouTube invented? I said 2005. And so I said, he said, Dad, when was I born? And I said, I know that one, 2007. He goes, Dad, YouTube and Google have been around my whole life. Good night, Dad. And he's so right on that. Google and YouTube have been around his whole life. That's what he's used to. That's what he's accustomed to. So continue to use those resources at home. Don't focus on the content, but focus on the questioning is what we can do with those resources during this time. The fourth one's quality resources. I cannot stress this enough. Make sure you're using good resources as you go along the way. And I want to emphasize this point. There's a lot of new resources out there, a lot of companies pushing new resources free out there for you to use. So you hopefully use them when you go back. But focus on the resources that you currently have right now that your kids currently use. I think the school districts and teachers that are making this good transition are just taking what they've been doing and they're just extending it to the home right now. So think about the resources that you currently have and how you can use those. And just like a good artist, we need our tools. So what are some good systems out there? I'm not sure if there's space in that or not, but there's space. Go and add things on there, or think about some of the systems that you can come up with or resources. When you think about systems, I think about Google and the Google Classroom and sites like I told you we use. Schoology, my kids live in a different district, they're using that. Ed Momentum, things like that. When it comes to tools, Flipgrid, all these collaboration tools, Ed Puzzles to do accountability for our students, IXL for skills and strategies, BrainPop has some really cool things happening right now. Well, there's so many other question mark resources out there. When you're talking about managing devices and measuring EdTech effectiveness, look at NetRef, Meet, Zoom for video conferencing, PBS, like I said, for TV, Khan Academy, I said earlier, they just like today or yesterday videos for students or kids in 7 to 2 years old. So there's resources that are popping up. I'm not going to list a bunch of resources. I named some resources that I like to do, but that's where you have to collaborate and learn with each other, but focus on some resources that you're used to using already. The last one's reflect. When you go through this process, it's a lot of reflecting. Every day you're going to go to bed at night saying, I don't know if I'm doing this right. It's okay to call someone and talk to them about it. We chat every day with our principals and our teachers about what's working, what's not working, how can I help you, how can I support you. So it's okay to reflect every day. Make sure that you're assessing what you're doing. Talk to each other. Meet as much as you can. And the more you connect, the better. This is the perfect opportunity to connect with teachers and with each other more than ever. Also because it's something to do. We're at home all day by ourselves or with our families and we don't see anyone. So why not go connect and do some Google Meets and some Zooms with each other to figure out what's happening and connect with our families. We use Google Meet right now to live stream with our families. We have a great idea. We had a kindergartner. He just turned 6 years old today. And his mother emailed the teacher and said, hey, do you mind if you Google Meet with him today and sing happy birthday to him? The teacher sent it to several administrators. We all went on together through Google Meet and sang happy birthday to him in his kitchen today. And he was so excited about that. So use these opportunities to connect more than ever before. So we started with Mr. Rogers, and we are going to end today with Mr. Rogers. And I said before, when we talked about how change can be scary, but it will not be scary if we work together. We'll be successful. I promise you that you have to work together, and we have to connect, and we have to connect as a community, and keep kids and keep students at the center of everything we do. But you cannot dream or wish it come true. You have to do it. You have to try new things, take risk, build a support system up around you, and to help you to take risks, to help encourage you to do it. I found a Mr. Rogers song from 1969. And I'm going to sing it. And I'm going to encourage all of you to sing it, no matter if you're in Peru, Mexico, Pittsburgh, New Mexico, wherever you are in this call right now, or if you watch it later, I want to encourage you to sing it. And the part of it goes a little bit like this. I'm going to switch over here. All right. I got all these chats popping up here. Here we go. It's not easy to keep trying, but it's one good way to grow. It's not easy to keep learning, but I know that this is so. When you've tried and learned, you're bigger than you were a day ago. It's not easy to keep trying, but it's one way to grow. You've got to do it every little bit. You've got to do it, do it, do it, do it. And when you're through, you can know you did it, for you did it, you did it, you did it. So everyone, I just want to thank you again from the bottom of my heart of doing what you're doing. And I hope you took one thing away from this. And I want to applaud you to keep trying, collaborate, work with each other, and do the best you can for kids. Thank you so much. And I'll be happy to answer any question that you may have.
Justin, I just want to echo what so many have said in the chat, which is this is exactly the webinar we all needed right now. We all needed your enthusiasm and inspiration and can-do spirit. So I know this has been uplifting to me and to so many in the audience. So thank you for bringing all you did.
We're all in this together. We're all in this together.
Yes,
you know,
we are. And
we're
again, I
all
want
in
to
this
thank
together.
everybody for contributing to the chat, because the amount of sharing and resources that has flown by is incredible. And that chat log is shared. So if you were not able to copy and paste or screenshot some of those resources that were shared, those will be available to you. So thanks to our audience as well as to you, Justin. This has been an awesome experience, and ending with the Mr. Rogers song was truly the best part of my day. So I'm going to hold on to that for certain. We all can sing that to each other every single day as we go through these challenges. And we do have questions for you, and we're going to get to those in just a second. I do just want to thank EdWeb for hosting the webinar today, as well as thank our sponsor, NetRef, who brought Justin to us. And NetRef, as Justin mentioned, is a tool that can be used as you're facilitating remote learning, as well as once you get back in the classroom. It is a classroom management tool, but it does work on both student and school-owned devices. So you can push websites and apps to your students. You can redirect learning even while they're at home. So it's a pretty robust tool, and it's great for teachers, again, in or out of the classroom. It also has lots of reporting features for administrators to identify which EdTech tools are really getting the most use in the school, so that we can determine what our best investments are, where we might need some professional learning around EdTech usage. So I encourage you to check them out at net-ref.com. Again, they're the ones who brought Justin here to you today. And to help support distance learning during this time, NetRef is offering their solution completely free through June 30th. So any school or district can reach out to NetRef. Again, go to net-ref.com. You'll find out more information about the platform, as well as be able to contact them to get up and running on their platform through June 30th. And it's a great way to help kids keep focused on learning, again, both in and out of the classroom. All right, so let's get to some questions. One question that came in quite a bit was when you were talking about setting up a fake phone number, and I'm not sure if that was through Google, but if you could just provide a little more clarity about that. We had a lot of folks thinking they needed to be gangsters and going and getting a burner phone. So if we can talk through that, I think that'll help a lot of people.
Yeah, so I actually did it myself. Honestly, I know this is cliche, but if you Google how to set up Google Voice, it gives instructions on support, and all of you need is a Gmail account, so which is free. So it walks you through it. It probably will only take you literally 1 to 2 minutes to set up. You just go through your settings and you click enable. I think it's enable Google Voice, and it gives you a chance to pick a phone number. That's this phone number that's the area code. Am I losing you guys again?
Yeah,
Okay.
you just cut out there for a second.
Okay. If
Yeah.
I cut out again, just let me know and I'll refresh if I have
Okay.
to. But
Justin and Emily, maybe you guys could both turn off your cameras, webcam,
Oh,
and that
okay.
might
Yeah.
help a little.
Okay.
Emily, technically you don't have to, but it might look weird if it's just you on
Yeah,
there.
I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be there without Justin.
Thanks, everyone.
all right. So can you hear me okay now?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, great. So yeah, I mean, it's super easy to set up and it actually matches your area code. So it doesn't look funny or anything like that. And you can connect it to any phone you want. So I connect it to my cell phone. So even though they call that different number, it still connects to my cell phone. And I can actually, and then everything's saved within a Google Drive to voicemails go through your Google folder. I know a lot of foreign language classes use it because students call in with in one language and it translates it to a different language. So I know a lot of they do it like that. So it's also a great tool to use in the school system too. But it's Google Voice, it's free. But even if you want to use the old star 67, I believe you can even do that before you call. So you have a different so it blocks your phone number as well. But sometimes parents won't do that. But I think most parents have an email account. Almost probably again 99%, maybe 95%, maybe. I know we have some that don't, so we have to do robocalls with them. But emails are a great tool as well. They're very. We actually were doing that in our elementary school for a 10. We can get relationship insurance, right? One thing we don't want is a robo system of education right now. We're just clicking things all the time, and there's no name associated with things. We really want to try to avoid that at this point.
Yeah, we all need that human contact, even if we can't be in the same room together. So, yeah, even simple things like the name showing up on the phone, I think, is comforting to folks. Yeah, I know many of you in chat were talking about the ways that you're staying in touch with your students and their families, everything from, as Justin suggested, the old snail mail letters to emails and texts and communications through your learning management systems. And I know that's so valuable both to the students and their families. So thanks for doing all of that. So, Justin, what are you doing in your district to try to help staff members make this transition? I know that's a big question, but are you conducting regular meetings with teachers and other staff members? Are you providing suggestions for different platforms? Kind of what's things looking like at your district?
So right now we use Google Classroom I mean third grade through 12th grade. We have Google Sites set up. All the teachers already have them set up for their class, and so we're using a lot of those things at the K1-2. We're doing weekly menus. 3 through 12, a lot of asynchronous activities happening right now. But we do meet really frequently with teams, and teams meet frequently, and it's all through Google Meet right now. So we have teams meeting together, and we continuously stressed over and over again to the teams that if within your team, so maybe we have smaller teams and big teams. Our kindergarten team's 13 teachers in our kindergarten team, and our 13 teachers in this one building do a Google Meet together. We say, listen, some of you are really comfortable with technology. Some of you are not. But those teachers that are not comfortable with technology may be really, really good at calendar time or selecting reading materials and so forth. So now is more of time than ever to work together as a team. So for that group, we have this Google Doc. We all shared on this Google Doc together as a team and said, okay, you focus on this, you focus on that. Okay, this person's going to pull everything together at the end of the week to get ready for the next meeting coming up. So we really have to get away from I do this in my class. I know you're better than me, but this is just the way I teach. I don't teach like that. Well, that mindset is going to create an equity gap. And that's what we keep telling our teachers is the fact that we don't want to create this inequity within our own school because it can easily happen between teachers at grade levels or even grade levels between grade levels. So we're strongly using those words to say, okay, let's start slow. We know we can do more. We know you can do this. However, why don't you do that for the whole team? And in return, this teacher is going to do this for the whole team. And that way we're all capitalizing on each other's strengths, because at the end of the day, it's not about how good we look as a school or how good the teacher looks or the principal looks. It's at the end of the day whether the students are getting the best all around education across the board. And we're not, again, we're a support system right now. We're not focused on, and I think this is the key, this is the key point that we kept driving home. We're not focused on preparing kids for college, university, and careers at this point. We're focused on preparing kids for today, tomorrow, next week, and maybe the next month or two to come. Let's focus on supporting families first.
Yeah, I think that day by day approach is the best one right now, and focusing on what our students and their families and our educators really need from us right this very minute, and getting through one day at a time. So that's good advice. We are running out of time. I'm going to take just one last question, and this came in pretty early on when you were talking about those kind of intense planning meetings that you had, and
Mhm.
the question around that was, and this was a question I think related to pre our virtual learning days, but
Yeah.
when you have those meetings, are teachers excused from their classes, or do you
Mhm.
hold those on in-service days? Kind of what's the structure around those?
No, we set those up beginning of the year with dates, and we bring subs in. And I know everyone is always short on subs, but we do whatever we can, and the teachers really bond together, and staff members and administrators. And we sometimes we have teachers have to cover certain things. Yeah, and issues of covering and so forth like that. But those days are so precious to us that that we do that, and they know how important it is for student learning. That's one of the times where we just do what we need to do to get coverage. So we do 3-hour meetings with each team, and we try to keep the teams with underneath 7 people. And we bring snacks in, we bring, whatever it is, and we try to make it a nice, comfortable atmosphere. But it is a 3-hour meeting, and we do them pretty frequently. But we bring subs in for those meetings, and we really get a lot of bang out of our buck. We say, well, if whatever we have to do, so we try to even almost double book subs for those days to make sure it come in. And I know it's tight on budgets sometimes, but what we get, the output we get from those meetings, you saw from that chart, our students are growing higher and more than they have ever done before. And it's really that time for teachers to get together rather than a 30-minute planning time, which really is maybe more like a 10-minute planning time or a 30-minute PLC at the end of the day, or 1 or 2 in-service days. So that building that time during the school day is crucial and critical. And I think that I wouldn't trade that for the world. And we'll do whatever we need to do to protect that time.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I know I'm learning in this time is just how important that collaboration is, whether that's face to face or in these virtual environments, but really having that concentrated time to work together and collaborate and brainstorm and make those plans, as you said, is really worth the effort and the investment to make happen. So thanks for sharing how that works in your district. And unfortunately, we have come to the end of our time together. It went really quickly. So again, thank you, Justin, for being with us. You again were so uplifting and inspirational in this moment of stress and uncertainty, and I think gave us all lots of things we can move forward with in our own schools and districts. And thanks to everyone who took the time out of their day to join us as well and contribute in the chat. Just a reminder that you will get a copy of the recording of this, and we encourage you to share it with others in your district who would be inspired and learn from it, and to join the EdWeb Digital World community. When you join that, that's where you'll be able to download the slides and the chat logs, and continue the discussion through that community. I also would like to invite you to our next webinar sponsored by NetRef that's coming up on April 15th, also at 4 Eastern. And this one also is going to be about distance learning, EdTech in the era of distance learning. And Dr. Monica Burns is going to talk about really what we've been learning over these past couple weeks of getting up and running with distance learning, and how we can take those learnings forward as we finish out this school year and look ahead into the next one. So we encourage you to register for that. You can find that webinar listed in the Digital World community as well as on the main edweb.net website. Thanks again, everyone. Good luck out there. Stay safe, stay strong. You really are doing invaluable work for our students and their families, and we just appreciate the heck out of you and wish you all the best as you move forward. And we hope we'll see you on the next NetRef EdWeb webinar on April 15th. So have a great afternoon or evening, folks, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.